Okay. Okay, this is the Fallbrook Regional Health District Finance Committee meeting for Wednesday, May 1st, 2024, called to order at 10:02. May I have the roll call?
Director Jeffries,
Here.
Director Stanisek.
Here.
Thank you.
Any public comments?
We have no public, in the room or on Zoom, and I received nothing via email.
Okay, and now we have a presentation.
Is Michelle in?
No,
Michelle's not here?
no. Okay, we'll move on to item 4.
Okay.
Okay, item 4, review of financial statements for March. Report 1. There we go, thank you. For the balance sheet comparison of March to February, total liabilities and equity for March, $16,257.88. And total liabilities and equity for February, $13,494,644.59, reflecting an increase of $622,180.98.
Question.
Uh-huh.
Is that what I'm supposed to do at this point?
Yeah, anytime.
Okay, I didn't know which meeting, I want to make sure I'm in the right meeting.
You're in the right.
You're in the right meeting. Well, welcome back to Fallbrook. This is the Health District.
Yes,
This is
indeed.
the Finance Committee.
Yes, the 5-star checking. Looks
Okay,
like
you're on page,
one of 2 of the
Okay.
report 1,
the
5-star bank account. assets
5-star bank account, yep.
Went down from February by what, 150 to 175, so,
Oh, that's the
Pacific
Pacific
Western.
Western.
what was that?
That's a checking account, not 5-star.
5-star.
On the
Oh,
Pacific Western
Oh,
Bank.
sorry, it is checking, yes. Pacific West checking. Was that just a normal
Paying the
expenditure
bills.
somewhere along the way?
Yeah,
Paying the
that's-
bills, just normal, okay.
That's, yeah,
Is that an aggregate? It's not a one-time, there's kind of aggregate thing of,
it's over the month
okay,
difference, so.
it's just, okay. That's fine.
One of the expenses we had in the month of March was $130,000 expense to Site Logic as we got
Okay.
started, so we had
So
a
those are all-
larger than normal expense.
Got it, that's it.
Okay.
Cool.
As an aside, aren't we impressed with that instant
Oh, that's
recall
true.
of what that might be?
Yes,
Oh.
indeed.
Good job.
Great, all right,
And the tax, tax portion, okay, so he's got a big tax influx.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what that is. Okay, good to go.
Okay, report number 2, income statement. Total net income for the month of March was positive $755,847.74 due to property tax revenue. Report number 3, profit and loss actual versus operating. This is referring to the approved budget. Administration, based on the approved operating plan, the district was over the planned budget in year-to-date net income by $774,755.51. And the wellness center, based on the approved operating plan, the district was under the plan in year-to-date net income by $116,163.09.
Meaning we weren't as in the red as I projected
Right.
for the wellness center.
Yes.
That's the right direction. Report number 4.
Question?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The actual versus budget on rental income? Is that a
Yes.
timing issue or is that?
No, originally when we did the budget, there was an expectation that we would be renting out space at the
Oh,
wellness
okay.
center for a certain
Gotcha.
project
So
that
that's
did not
just
occur.
happening. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Boys and Girls Club, there was an extra item.
They don't actually, when we initially put in the youth fitness grants, we just had a line item that said youth fitness grants. We didn't know who it would be. One of the participants was also,
Gotcha. So that's.
so it looks like they have an overage, but it's just the youth
It's part of
fitness.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We've got to figure out how to reassign that for the next year, so in the reporting.
Okay.
But I've already got that figured out.
And I'm assuming the interest and dividend income was just an opportunity and a timing versus budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, I'm good.
my crystal ball isn't any better than anybody's,
Understood.
apparently.
And a question on the youth fitness grant.
Yes,
I think we allocated 20 grand to that. this
Correct.
year.
Yes.
Can I know how much we've spent? How much has been used?
20,000.
The whole 20?
Yeah, because we only did one-time distribution for the 5,000 for 4 entities. We
Okay,
did one
and it
distribution.
all went out.
It all went out
Very good.
in.
And did they have
September.
remaining need?
Have no idea. That was not part of our questioning to them.
Okay, that would be interesting to know because it
Well,
might,
they're gonna say yes, no matter what. Because their grants are different from what we see with the other.
yes.
So, we are just now finishing up the survey impact report one time that they'll do.
Okay, I'll wait for the report.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the LAIF investment account, report number 4. LAIF
I'm
post,
sorry, did we just do 3? Did we pass 3 or?
No, that's what we just discussed. Did you have, other line item questions?
only
we just did 3.
Oh, I guess that was the total. Okay, the totals, the big discrepancy on total district direct care services was a big delta.
Again, that was one of those expectations that I had, hoped a certain project would come in that we would have to expend funds to.
Gotcha.
They did not come in, so we didn't spend those money.
Which means we can save some bucks, okay. All right, fair enough.
Bucks in waiting.
Yes, indeed. All right,
Report number 4, LAIF investment account statement. LAIF posted 0 in quarterly interest rates because they do it on a yearly, monthly basis, with a fair market value of $1,470,338.44. The average monthly effective yield was 4.232%. Comments or questions? Okay. Report number 5, CalTrust investment account statement. The district earned $14,596.15 in the medium-term fund with an unrealized gain of $4,939.84. The cost basis was $4,962,848.33, and the fair market value was $4,835,888.26. The 1-year yield on the medium term was 3.77%. The district earned $4,662.18 in the liquidity fund. The cost basis and fair market value was $1,019,902.88. As of March 2024, the 1-year yield was 5.46%. Any questions on the CalTrust? Okay, moving to our last investment instrument. Report number 6, Cal Class investment account statement. The district earned $4,745.03. The cost basis and the fair market value was $1,038,145.05. The average monthly yield was 5.421%. So Class was able to generate the highest yield for us. Okay. Any questions on that?
Nope.
All right. The check detail report. Let's take a look at the ebb and flow of it all.
And then just to let you know, once we get through the reports, we do see that Michelle is, with us.
Oh,
So we'll have her do the presentation once we get through these.
Very good. We're almost to the end. You want to go to the end or?
No, let's go to the end of the reports. We'll have Michelle and then we can go to the budget.
Okay, I get you. Very good.
Any questions on the check detail? You can see that, Site Logic payment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the,
I didn't really understand.
the in and out looks very logical. I didn't have any questions.
Go.
Okay, moving on to report number 8, visa statement. Any unusual things that you noticed, finance team?
No, we can talk, about some changes that we've discussed previously about how we would like to deal with district, credit. We can talk about that. That's obviously at the end of the agenda, so,
Okay.
but there's nothing really unusual in here.
Mhm.
What is SP Med Potter?
That was actually the Mad Potter, you know, the shop down on Mission.
Yeah,
At the Wellness Center, you'll see there's some new, planters and plants in those.
okay,
So that's for all of those out there.
gotcha.
Thank
Thanks.
you for buying local.
Yes, indeed.
Whatever we can, and,
I'm so addicted to Amazon.
well, I have an addiction, but, Teresa did a great job actually working with the folks at Mad Potter. We know that they're definitely local support, so she worked with them to get that and their initial estimate, and then they gave us a nice discount as well.
Oh,
And if you haven't been out to the Wellness Center and seen those planters with the benches, it really softens up the starkness that metal building.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Thank you for that. Okay,
And then,
okay, on the visa statement?
second one, Umpqua,
Umpqua.
Bank.
International Public Man.
That's a
Sure.
different name for the Public Sector Human Resource Association. They're renaming themselves from international to public sector.
Okay, so it's a HR cost?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
major cost.
thank you. Didn't recognize that one.
A lot of upcoming changes in reference to human resources and some of the infrastructure pieces we're doing here. Judith is getting a lot of really solid information, and I'm getting secondary supervisory level information
Good.
so that we can make sure that we are absolutely at the top of potential compliances.
Excellent. Sounds
And
good.
those compliances extend to all, it's universal HR. So anything you're learning, applies to other places.
Mostly, and then there are some specific things for public sector that are interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, I've been watching the, no contact after work hours issue.
Oh, yeah.
And the new one that California is bringing in is, actually, maybe the feds. Any salaried employee with earning less than, up to, I think it's now
Yeah.
48,000, gets overtime.
Yeah, you're right, that's a fed one.
So that's gonna be an
That
important,
doesn't actually affect us because the California standard is already higher.
good.
We're.
Yeah,
We're already
we make sure
accounting
that
for
in
it.
January, we
Yeah.
make sure we're in compliance with the California one that kicked in for this year.
Very good. Okay.
And the late fee was just an accident. Couldn't negotiate that one.
No, in part because they kept saying that they hadn't received the payment, this will be part of our discussion for the later agenda item.
Got it.
I want to kick them out of the club.
I do,
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be all ears open.
yeah.
Okay. And now to the community development disbursement report.
And you'll see that,
We're busy.
we're busy, there's a lot going on. Typically, we would have made in this meeting a recommendation for reimbursement. But because we have some, differences in how the site logic is being booked, this report needed a little bit more nuancing, so we'll probably maybe hold off and wait until the final quarter of this fiscal year to make one larger, so that we can be very clear in what we're asking for reimbursement. Since we are not in a cash flow challenge situation, I'd rather make sure we're more clear than just sticking to our own arbitrarily set deadlines.
That makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
And safe and sound security, that's,
that is the Verkada and or the cameras that we have now out at the wellness center.
that's a one-time then type thing. Or is
Yeah,
that-
Safe and Sound, we pay monthly, but that large one was for the overall
Putting it all-
installation.
Gotcha. All right, thanks.
Yeah, the equipment and installation.
Yep, okay.
And we're appreciating its functionality.
Yes, actually, we
Very
are.
good.
We've been able to catch a couple of things that were just,
The SDG&E team, remember?
the SDG&E team that showed up and blocked the place and then needed to come in, and it was a good excuse for,
It was a way to be proactive using those cameras.
Yeah.
Everybody, we arrived there.
Yeah.
Gotta have it.
Nice.
Good.
Good.
All right. All right. Any other questions on the,
Nope.
report? Okay,
Good to go.
then I think we're ready to hear from Michelle from Five Star Bank.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Monaco, the manager of our government banking group at Five Star Bank. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I appreciate you inviting me to your meeting today. It's great to get to know at least one of your bankers, right? And so, I work closely with Rachel and Judith and really enjoy our interactions. I presented Rachel with a bank account option that will help you just in diversifying your cash and give you a little bit more yield than you're possibly earning today. I've also been talking with Judith about our credit card purchasing card program, which sounds also like a pain point for you as well. Happy to answer any questions there or just in general about the bank. I provided you with a couple of flyers just to give you a detail of, who Five Star Bank is and our government banking group. And that was really just for background information for you to understand the strength of the bank. We're a high-performing, top-rated community bank. We have a government banking group that specializes in local agencies. Special districts are near and dear to our heart, and we have over 100 different special districts that bank with us today throughout the state, including Fallbrook. So we're about $3.6 billion in assets and growing. Our financials are strong. We're top rated. We provide a high level of service in addition to giving you high yielding accounts and minimal service fees. We have a very low service fee structure and high earnings credit rate. So all of that combined with a great service, that's what we have to offer. So this is just a little bit of background information just for your reference about Five Star Bank. I did approach Rachel with an opportunity for you to possibly make more on your reserve cash. As you mentioned earlier in the meeting, you have some lower yielding accounts with CalTrust in the medium term fund and LAIF. LAIF is, kind of catching up to some of the investment pools. They've been increasing their yields over time. As you mentioned, right now, 4.23% is their current yield. Five Star Bank has a money market account. So it's not an investment account, but we have a money market account that is tied to the published yield of LAIF. So right now, the base rate of our money market account is 4.23%. I wanted to explain to you a little bit of the differences of our money market account versus the LAIF investment pool and maybe some other investments you have so you can make an informed decision. With the LAIF product, it is an investment pool and the coupons pay out quarterly. Our money market account is a deposit account, so you get paid monthly, the interest that's earned on the account versus quarterly, and the interest compounds daily. So you have the power of the compounding interest. If you need to transfer funds, maybe by wire transfer, LAIF and even like CalTrust and Class have a earlier cutoff time to wire funds out. That's 10 o'clock for LAIF. It might be 11 for CalTrust or Class. You have up until 2:30 to wire funds out of the account with Five Star Bank, and you can transfer it to your operating account that you have with us at any time and write checks out of that 24 hours a day. Those are some of the main differentiators. With a money market account, your deposits with Five Star Bank in general are collateralized. So you have the FDIC insurance up to $250,000. Any deposits over the FDIC insurance is collateralized. And that's in accordance with the California government code. There's a couple of ways that Five Star Bank collateralizes those deposits. One option is to collateralize the deposit with qualified bank-owned securities at 110% of your balance amount. If you do that, should the bank fail, those securities would then be liquidated and you would be made whole. And that generally takes, maybe 1 to 2 days. There's a process involved in that. Plus, the FDIC insurance. No banks have really failed to a point where customers have lost money. Shareholders, yes, in recent times, but not customers. But, in accordance with the California Government Code, we have to collateralize those deposits as, public funds. The other option, which is more commonly used, is a standby letter of credit with the Federal Home Loan Bank. So should the bank fail, the Federal Home Loan Bank will step in and make you whole immediately the next day. So those are generally the collateralization options that we have, and we have reporting to back that up for your auditors. I presented Rachel with an attractive rate of 5.10%. That I received approval from our CEO to offer you for any excess reserve cash that you'd like to move over to Five Star Bank in our public money market account. So that's higher than what the base rate is. That is currently the 4.23 LAIF yield, giving you greater return. So you'd have, the three important factors is your liquidity, your safety, and your yield, and this would satisfy all of those.
What's the term on that?
There is no term. It's a liquid money market account. So you would have immediate access and availability to those funds. It is a variable rate, and so it will adjust.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it will adjust. But as I said, the LAIF yield is what it's tied to. We're making an exception and giving you a higher rate. So for instance, right now, 5.10% is pretty darn good. But should LAIF exceed the 5.10%, you'll get the LAIF rate. If and when rates go down, there's been a lot of, information in the news about that being delayed just to curb inflation. But if rates go down, then there is a possibility that the yield on the account will go down over time as well, as a fluctuation of the market.
Which would happen to the other accounts anyway.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's just all what it's tied to. Right?
Exactly.
It's the margin over the
Yeah,
time, so.
yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at.
We're in an inverted yield curve still. So, if you wanted to lock it up in a CD, you certainly could. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, only because short-term rates are higher than long-term rates. So it doesn't make sense to lock up your cash right now if you can have a liquid account that's going to give you the same yield. The only benefit to doing something like that would be as if you are concerned that the interest rates are going to go down and you wanted to lock that in just to ensure cash flow.
Right, got it.
Any questions, Mike?
Yep.
Anything that you want to share with us as board members before we finish this item?
I have nothing else to add.
Okay.
I think we'll just have some other discussions related to budget items and things and reserves, but nothing specific for Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle, for the encapsulated, very clear possibility for us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And, should you have any questions, I know that you guys are also contemplating different options for the credit card. I'm available anytime to answer any questions, show a demo, just help you make an informed decision. That's what I'm here for.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are
Appreciate it,
welcome.
Michelle. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye bonds.
Now see, that's a boomer reference.
Boomer.
I used a Bogart,
Oh.
like she was
Oh.
Bogarting something and she laughed at me and admitted today that, oh, it's a boomer reference. It's one of the cool hipster cool statements.
Yeah.
And proud of.
They were talking
about
that at the legacy meeting.
Bogart.
Bogarting, yeah. Well,
Because it's legacy.
Oh.
no.
Well, now I know.
So what I'm taking away from that presentation and check me on this, is that with our LAIF at 4.232, which goes up and down and all around, as with this,
Potentially, yes.
potentially. The interest rate, at least for a time, would be higher. We've got better availability with them. I don't know that, we rarely have emergency, so that we need to quickly get lots of money out, so that, but that's okay. And we have assurances if the bank goes bust, there are backup systems that would make us whole.
Yeah, that's absolutely not a problem. After the last seminar I
Yeah.
went to, discovering how government monies are protected in a way that shareholder monies are not.
That's right, customer monies too.
Yes.
Yeah, customer versus
I would
shareholder.
imagine leaves are leaves.
Leaf
Same level.
as a government pool, they all have the same
Security,
safety
yeah.
tools. I wanted to add, obviously, with the, additional funds we just received from the closeout sale of the urgent care that we have received.
Okay.
Having that money, right now it's just sitting over at 5-Star in our basic account. One of the larger discussions that we'll bring forward in the next month or two is the fact that we need to revisit our reserve fund amounts, what that needs to look like. What we set it at originally back in, I think we set it in 21.
Yeah,
Um,
lots has happened.
Things have changed,
Yes.
right? And the district's overall operating needs have changed. I have been given some additional guidance from some additional trainings I went to on what we should be setting reserves amount.
Mhm.
Anyway, what that means is the funds that are now sitting at the 5-Star account
Mhm.
from the urgent care are an ideal amount of funds to potentially just park,
Mhm.
knowing that we're not going to need it. LAIF has typically traditionally been reserved as the funds that we've used from these community development disbursements, hospital monies to be reinvested back into the wellness center.
Right.
So while we do see that yield difference between those accounts, I'd like to pretend that we just don't touch that. Potentially take these additional funds, use this new investment vehicle while we are in this inverted curve,
Mhm.
take advantage of, while we're developing our reserve account. At that point, we can decide if we want to keep that, add to it, move it around, put it back into a class or a Cal Trust or whatever, as the crystal ball starts to clarify what the investment options will be in the next 2 years.
So what I'm hearing is the 5-Star, we have our current operating checking account.
We have a secondary, it's not our main account.
Where's the main
The
account?
main account is the Pacific Western.
Okay. Is there an opportunity for that to get all consolidated in some way, or are you trying to really keep those two separate, especially when we start talking credit card coming in?
If you're asking me my preference, I would love to move everything over to 5-Star and ditch, Pacific Western entirely.
So why, yeah, that's my question, I guess.
That is
Fundamentally,
my-
does that streamline our operations, does that give us more opportunity for flexibility, to move funds around and give us a better credit card solution? Would that package together help us maybe get a little more out of these guys as well?
Whether
In
it
terms
gets
of
us a little
negotiation.
more out of that, I don't know, but the other pieces, absolutely. I think it would streamline. Judith and I have talked about it a lot. We haven't discussed that fully yet, obviously with Susan.
Right.
But after never having been communicated with last year from Pacific Western, when all the banking challenges, they were not responsive at all. 5-Star has been incredibly responsive, very easy to work with. Their online interface is so easy, phenomenal. Pacific Western's is terrible.
So
So,
what's holding us back from that right now?
Just that I haven't brought it forward.
Okay.
No one has asked yet. There has been a shift
mhm.
in the finance committee and their philosophies.
Okay, I'm not reading the code, but I'm going with the logic. The logic is finance team doesn't need a dashboard with a bunch of blinking lights. If we can reduce by one the blinking lights, which I'm understanding if we move from Pacific Western to All-Star, 5-Star. Then we bring all of our operating
One
mashugana
umbrella.
in one umbrella.
Mhm.
Okay, So does this require board action?
I believe it would be a smart thing
Okay.
to do.
So would we like to recommend that? Okay,
I've been hearing this from the team that
Right.
they're a much better outfit to work with. We're getting bigger, we're doing more things, it's only gonna get better. So we need partners that are gonna be able to keep up with us.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
the only consideration is stay local. But I think we're all past that for banking services.
And
I
Pacific
mean-
Western isn't really local anymore.
Exactly.
So-
There was a big push in the olden days for the community to support
Remote.
these small
That makes
community
sense.
banks, and we did.
Yes.
And one of them left us pretty quickly, and then one got reupholstered, so
Yes.
that's the only thing that I can think of that would, that would make us, so, agreed?
Yeah.
Agreed.
So if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have Susan, Judith and I meet, work out the specifics to make sure that we haven't omitted
Yeah.
anything. And then we'll bring that back. We may not bring that to the May board meeting, just
May board meeting is big enough,
it's got a lot
That's
going
fair.
on.
yeah.
It
So
just-
maybe we can talk about that for June, and maybe see how that consolidates for a July fiscal start, see if that all fits. But I want to make sure that we're not missing any of the pieces.
Right.
The money market account that Michelle is introducing, I think, being able to open that account would be very, again, they make this very easy and streamlined since they already have all of the information. But I'd like to move that 342,000 that we received from the SKIO sale into that money market account so that we can capture some yield on it.
Yeah.
Instead of it just sitting into that secondary
Right.
account.
We're with you.
Yeah.
All right, so if the recommendation is from that, I don't believe we need a board action because we already have accounts
Right.
established.
Right.
It's a new version. We can probably just let the board know that we've taken this movement. If you're comfortable with that.
Okay.
Just-
Maybe there's another yield hurdle we hit, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it will definitely help, and while currently we are sitting in a positive cash flow place, we do know that with programming and potential clinical options in the next year or so, we're gonna eat into this, so the more that we can be proactive and capture this unique time period on interest.
Yep.
Now,
Sounds like too, there's gonna be some flexibility required and, you know,
Yeah.
if we have an opportunity to use something that's much more easy to use and allows us that flexibility, then I don't know, it just seems like a no-brainer.
yeah,
very good.
all right, I appreciate that.
Way
Thank you.
forward.
All
right.
I don't know, we haven't under public checking.
My question was, why are we not transferring the 250 at 5-star?
Because that 250 is sitting there as the, cash flow if needed. Remember, we have a couple of months during the year where we don't get property taxes and our cash flow dips. We use that 250 in the existing current 5-star account to float that and to float back.
She was recommending, you know, that you can
Yeah,
transfer
we-
from the money market to the checking.
Yes, and that's why I'm
We're always
thinking we
in,
need to
yeah.
sit down and discuss what that strategy is.
I see the pros and cons of kind of our current situation versus if everything was buried in
Right.
5-star.
Yeah, we should give another pieces that kind of speak to that and what you're saying, like, I think there's a better way to put it together, because there's a lot of ease of movement within their system.
A lot.
Super easy.
Okay.
And again, having their online portal be so, current,
Yeah.
modern,
User friendly.
user friendly.
You didn't have to get the chisel out and the hammer.
Oh, my gosh, and blood samples and, you know, who's your firstborn and,
Okay, we got it.
yeah.
So determined.
Yeah, I've just been hearing the concerns and the issues with, and I said, it's just time to fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, go do the homework and we'll take it from there.
Perfect. So
Makes sense.
we'll bring that back once we've got all of the specifics outlined and bring some specific strategies for your thoughtful recommendations.
Very good.
Appreciate
Thank
that. Thank you.
For liens.
Okay, moving on to the next item, which is our annual budget for 24-25, and it gave us a really big.
Because the little one, I know.
Really big.
To pull out.
Were these
I had to
supposed to
get
be
my-
the same?
So the one that you have in that hand over there was the previous draft,
Okay,
right?
Was the-
We knew that we would have some changes, so the
Okay.
colored version is your now current.
Okay,
and this is the one that was in the board packet.
This is the one that's in today's packet,
Okay.
correct?
So this was an older version.
Yes.
I
Correct.
don't need to worry about the gaps.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I went through both of them.
Right.
Changed.
Remember, last month's finance, we presented that one just so that you could see the overall structure and kind of get the overall, thinking behind how the budget is created with a little more data as we get closer, because, you know, we're still estimating
Right.
this fiscal year's end dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, okay.
Okay, to begin the discussion, I wanted to offer an observation on three of the larger picture items here. If you go to the middle of the page to total administrative expenses, prior year is estimated as coming in this $1.4 million. And projected is 1.6, which makes sense with the growth. And then going down to total, at the bottom, total health and wellness center. Last year's total predicted at 557,000, next year at 766,000. Again, growth is a good thing. And then the net ordinary income projected for 23-24 is 854,000. Projected ordinary income at the end of 24-25 with this budget would be 118,000. So there's some dynamics there that we'll explore as we go through.
Yeah, I have the same balance. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I hear you.
Okay, all right, so, Mike, I've got some notations of things that I have an interest in. Would you like to start, and so that I don't, preempt some of your good thinking, and we throw one out, pitch one
No,
out?
no, the first one for me was the revenue. It says in the assumptions that it's assuming a 6% gain, and yet it's a decline from what we're estimating to catch this year.
Yeah,
So is
so
that
it's a,
conservative revenue assumption or?
it's a conservative estimate, and keep in mind, in my assumption, I'm doing a 4-year average. This estimated year for this current fiscal year, the pink column, was way above what was expected.
Yep.
Which is why I'm only estimating, you're gonna see a downturn because it's an estimate. I'm not using this current year only. I'm taking the previous years, which gives an estimate, which drops it below this year. Does that make sense?
But isn't that a fixed number that's coming in? We know the
We do
percents,
not know the exact numbers.
but it's been growing fairly consistently for the last 4 years, right?
Yes, it has. And that is one of the conundrum conversations, that I know Judith and I have had. If you look at just these numbers, you're gonna see some pretty significant growth percentages. When you look at some of the recommendations in budgeting, what they'll tell you to do is take a multi-year approach. The problem is the 2021 year has some really weird data in it when you start thinking about COVID dollars and such.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of noise in the numbers.
Mhm.
The 6% allows us to stay conservative, but still allow us to project, because we don't get an exact number from the county.
So your
on what we
6%
can get.
is based on the 4-year average?
Yes,
Okay.
Mhm.
Do we believe we're gonna get less revenue next year than this year?
I do not believe that we will.
So that's why I was questioning, why do we just leave it the same as this year? Rather than
Be-
a hard decline, because what we're actually, as you get through all of this, what I saw is that we're actually budgeting a loss this year, which for next year.
No,
No,
for the 24-25 proposed year,
Mhm.
we are now, you're looking at the old one.
That may have been my challenge, then, because I saw there was an $8,000 loss.
Yeah, that you're looking at the wrong
No,
one.
okay, so.
Yeah.
Where we are, where,
So you're gonna, the very bottom, if you want to go to the larger document,
I got 118,
118,
okay, so that's part of the gap, just, okay, gotcha.
right? And while I do not expect, the best practices we've received from our education training
Mhm.
and others
Mhm.
tell you, don't just use a single year data point. Try to go back more years. They actually gave us a
7 years.
7 years.
7 years is what they.
You get
traditionally
7 years worth of data.
Yeah.
We are only going back 4.
Well, you have 7 years of data, but you also have a set of assumptions that drive this, right?
Correct.
So for me, assumptions also drive some of this. You know, the linear tracking of the cost is one thing, but, and you said some comments about we've got some growth. Well, I didn't know exactly what that growth was. Do we have plans for an additional FTE this year?
No,
Okay, so the salaries, except for normal growth and cost increase in benefits, shouldn't be a dramatic change from where we're exiting this year,
correct.
right? So those are the kind of things I'm looking at, is just your exit points of things that are gonna stay pretty consistent, and then things we're kind of roaming around assuming based on legacy and numbers, yada, yada.
Right.
I just felt this, from my perspective, looking at it, felt hyper conservative, which may be okay. But some of the numbers didn't seem to track where I would project them if I was writing the budget. So that's why I was just.
We are always going to be hyper conservative because our income is based on property taxes
Right.
and
Yeah.
a volatile political world,
Sure,
election year.
understood.
So we
Those are
traditionally,
gonna drive your yields, those are gonna drive
Yes.
your opportunities from that perspective, but from a property tax revenue, I think that's pretty well set in terms of the percent that's gonna be driven for next year. So I would say, in a minimum, flat would be a fair assumption, not a decline.
So,
I don't know how you talk through a decline in revenue on tax base when there's no indication that's ever gonna change, especially in California.
and again, part of that is just the recommendation that you use multi-year averages.
Yeah. So we got an anomaly in there with COVID too, right? So it's, okay, I struggle with, has it ever gone down year over year?
Yes. You know what?
Right after 08 and 10 and 11, I think was when I looked back, it went down.
Now, was that a tax base change or a percentage of,
You know, I
Or
can't
some
picture
other
what
weird
it was,
stuff.
but just looking back historically over it, because I was looking at an analysis of where we've been to
Yeah.
where we're
Right.
going. And then that's where we went to the county assessor's office and they used 7 years. And they're trying to work to see if they can get us some projections in the future.
okay,
But they also recommend being conservative to avoid those nuances of 2020 and this year ticked up.
okay.
So,
Yeah, it's learning for me.
yeah,
How to
Oh,
build a
yeah.
budget.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
it's a lot of
I was
learning.
looking
It's a very different style of budgeting than you would have in a traditional for-profit business world.
Right.
Very different.
fair enough.
and I'd say, as a superintendent, we got federal money for our base schools,
Mhm.
but we had to go every year and beg 3 times every year for that money for the
Mhm.
kids. So we always discounted it,
Sure,
and it always came in.
yeah,
But too much was hanging in the balance in terms of staffing and then laying people off, so I'm comfortable with an average and then applying it, especially when we're coming out 118,000 into the good.
yes.
If it had been a deficit, I'd be arguing a little bit more, because we don't
Okay.
want to be a deficit-minded organization when we don't have to be.
I never
You know.
believe in planning for deficits.
Yeah, well,
Unless you're somehow doing it for other reasons, tax benefit or something else. However, I just didn't understand some of the driving costs of this that were going up versus that I didn't know of any FTE changes or any,
Yeah, I
except for
think-
normal growth and
Yeah.
cost increases that occurred, benefits, and salary.
Yeah.
But,
well, and
okay.
I had the exact same questions. For instance, when we look at the community health contracts under administrative expenses,
Mhm.
we're gonna be putting in $200,000 to North County Fire,
Right.
and that we didn't have prior years, so
That's
that's.
a carryover kind of.
A little bit.
Yeah, it burps
Yeah.
every other year.
Now, they may actually still invoice us in this fiscal year.
Mhm.
For the next one?
No, within this fiscal year,
No, for the next ambulance, so.
for the next
Yes,
ambulance.
that's what this is targeting, the next one.
Right, no, I'm saying in the pink column right now, in our estimated,
Mhm.
I have 0 for the North County Fire Ambulance.
Oh, you're saying this fiscal
Current
year, we still
fiscal
have a
year.
couple months here possible.
There's a chance they could get that to me. I haven't been able to get clarification
Okay.
from them. So my expectation is I'm not gonna get it because we're already in May.
Yeah,
So I'm proposing it's gonna show up in 24,
Gotcha.
25.
Understood.
and then also, Mike, I think it's important for us to look at the grant history. So if you go to the far right column, this shows a huge spike that we made in the 2021.
Yeah.
And that's an aberration, and we've corrected for that
Right.
because we're funding the Health and Wellness Center and services there.
Right.
But this is the most visible one for the community. And that, you know, we just gotta be able to speak to that because from 1.2 to 516,000 in and of itself makes it look like we're not providing a lot of services. But then when we go down to what Health and Wellness Center, we'll see lots of
Correct.
increases. Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of a total outlay for community benefit, right? Is that
Right.
number of grants plus wellness center?
right.
That number is the one we should kind of track. The general election, 35,000,
Yeah,
Yeah,
is that just to get? do the
that's for
board?
our
that's,
election.
Really?
yeah, we pay the
That's
county to
cheap.
run the election. Which is why I'm always excited if nobody else runs against anyone during election, because then we can cancel the election and
Understood.
not have to pay for that.
And have another ear clinic.
No, I get it.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, the other couple of things, down the road a bit, in the middle, employee benefits. 44,000 prior year and 87,000 current year. That's a spike in health benefits.
Mhm.
Okay.
We're adjusting for a 10% increase from the marketplace this year.
Mhm.
We also added another employee from the current fiscal year that came in mid-year to a full year expectation of that
Gotcha.
benefit
Yep,
next year.
yep.
So there's the logic
Yeah, the
there.
main question there was just, we don't have plans for an additional
Correct.
at this point.
No, I did not build in any
Okay,
new.
so it's current staff. Gotcha.
Yeah. And that's reflected, if you look in the, down below under salaries for the, at men.
Mhm.
Ending at 438,000 and beginning at 465,000, that logic checks
Yep.
very well.
It's all good.
Yeah. And then moving into the Community Health and Wellness Center. I had a question about the lean advertising and promoting budget only increasing by about $2,000. But my understanding is we're predicting less paid for and more digital. Is that fair?
That and last year we invested quite a bit in promotional items. As
Tchotchkes.
we, tchotchkes,
Yeah.
in part, yes, and other branded items. That we brought in for the district. That we don't need to buy again for this year.
Okay.
So there was quite a bit in there. Also, with the addition of Jasmine, she's able to do a
Yes.
lot more that before we just put in an ad in the paper. Well, now she's able to take those flyers, be in front and center and have personal,
Correct.
and that has a much deeper, better. When I was first working on the budget, the previous draft, Teresa and I had a conversation specifically about what opportunities we may have for advertising and promoting. I kept that lean specifically knowing that if we're going to have real interaction, people at events, that does better than just advertising. Our return on investment out of the Valley or Village News is not high by any means. And that's our highest paid advertising.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes we can't do as much local as we can.
Did have a question on the board stipends?
so I maxed that out of potential, what it could be. If all
Okay.
5 board members went to all potential 6
Oh,
meetings
okay,
in
so
a
you're just-
year.
It's capped, okay. got it. Just the
Yeah.
worst case.
Yeah, and that
Not the
has,
best case.
right.
If I involve board members.
I will say worst case, because the last time that actually capped was when the district was in deep transition between CEOs and a number of other challenges with Crestwood sale.
Yeah, yes.
Got it.
Yeah, that was big.
It's nice
Mid-year.
when we don't need to have so many emergency special meetings.
Yeah, understood.
I think another trend line that really tells our story is when we go to health services and clinics. And in 2021, we expended $3,000 on that.
Yeah.
And now we're up to $180,000. And that's just such a marker of how we
Yep.
revved it up, man. You know, step on the gas.
And is that, known basis at this point or known plus opportunity? Coverage.
It's known plus, some opportunity,
Okay,
not deep opportunity.
but
Um,
some
Yes,
room.
yes,
Okay,
some room.
Good.
And then the additional note in the assumptions that was added is that while we are anticipating an end of year overage, that also gives us the opportunity, should something come along mid-year that is of interest to the board to add in, that gives us that idea of, we're not already estimating that we'll run in the red. let's go ahead and plan for and use that excess
Got
for
it.
this.
Cool.
I think that's a budget item that if it ended up being over budget, none of you would be sad, because it meant we're giving
Doing
more
something of value.
service.
Yes.
Yeah, we're doing something like that,
Right.
absolutely. Cool.
And then another question, education and conferences under health and wellness. 2,000 prior year, 34,000 this
Mhm.
coming year. Tell us all about that.
So there's two parts to that. The first one is that we're gonna have a lot more staff attending the ACHG or CSDA conferences. In part because, as part of our vision, to be recognized, the
Right.
best way to do that is to be able to present to
Be
those, to our partners there.
Yep.
The other part is within the employee benefits, we have tuition reimbursement. So we have some staff that do plan to continue some education pieces. We're allowed to fund per IRS up to 5,200 per year toward that. There is an also one-time, unique opportunity that the IRS has put out that should an employee have education debt, student loan debt that is specific to their job, there's this one-time catch-up where they can use that tuition benefit to backfill that education cost instead of front load that education cost. We may have an employee that is available for that. We don't have that specifically outlined in our employee policy yet, but that is something that we're waiting for Jeff's blessing on that.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to bring that forward in this fiscal year,
So the organization can fund up to what
5,200 per employee,
per employee? Right.
which is why I've got a much larger number in there than would traditionally be in there.
Okay, very good. Mike, I'm so glad we're on the same page on that. I'm reading your body language.
Absolutely.
That's a good and beautiful thing.
No-brainer.
Yay. Okay.
We want to keep really qualified.
That's right.
It's part of
Employees.
our goal to be the best.
Mhm, to be the best.
We
We are the
absolutely
best.
That doesn't come for free.
What?
Just teasing. I was just teasing.
Okay.
There's a reason for the side eye.
You didn't have nothing wrong.
That's an inside joke within the office.
Is that
Okay,
another
and-
reference?
Yeah. Another logic check under payroll expenses, our salaries will increase about 18 grand between this fiscal year and next fiscal year, and that indicates a stability of staffing.
Right.
Is that how I should read that?
Yes,
Okay,
again, we brought in different staff at different times. This will be our first full fiscal year where everybody's there. This also covers all the anticipated COLA and or merits that may come in.
Yep,
so of course, Mike, our job now is to consider whether this proposed budget makes enough sense for us to recommend it to be
Mhm.
placed on the May agenda for a public hearing and discussion, and then in June we'll approve it.
Yes.
Okay. How does that feel?
no, after the conversation, I'm fine. I think this is a good starting point. I think we have the right level of cushion where we need it, and the right level of integrity, and where the questions would typically come up, we have a good answer for it.
Yeah.
So that's always what I'm
That's
looking
what I'm
at.
looking
The
for.
assumptions are clean,
Good answer.
and we're covering ourselves where we have some uncertainty, so. Good job.
Yeah, nice.
Well, and after the last training I went to last week from CSDA on financial management and budgeting, my head was exploding and I wanted to come back and change a whole bunch
Yeah.
of things. But it, not substantive, but how it is presented.
Right.
So I will probably write up a small narrative to be able to explain some of these things.
Yep.
Next year, we'll add in a few more pieces that make it even more transparent, even more clear. We will continue to stay with the year comparisons. And we'll probably look to having that build out to a 5 to 6 year. I think 7 year might be a little bit redundant. I think,
It's noisy. I
It
think
gets really noisy.
It's very noisy.
I was happy at leaving it at 4, but with the funkiness of the 2021 year, I say keeping it at 5 is good,
Yeah, I agree.
to help us understand where we got.
So, does this get updated as kind of a, archival document when the actuals are done?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'd be in, what, July?
usually I'll end up, I'll
We're
usually
done on
get,
June 30th, right? Where that's our fiscal.
that's our
year.
fiscal
Yeah,
year. Remember, we're always reporting to you 2 months back.
Yes.
So it would typically be the September meeting that is our fiscal year end
Mhm.
review. But I can usually have those numbers a little earlier and.
Yeah.
But I'll fill in that estimated column with more actuals. That's why your previous draft document was only up till the February numbers. This document now has, all the March numbers. So we're trying till, I'll update that each month.
No, I think that's, I mean, it's just good to kind of track what's happening.
Yeah.
We miss something, right?
Yeah.
Or something pops up that's an opportunity.
Yeah, and the next format you'll get, not for this year, but next year is having an additional column that allows you to see this fiscal year estimate versus this fiscal year budget in this as well. So you can see where we estimated
Mhm.
and where we were way off budget comparison to this budget.
Part of the learning and assumptions,
Yeah.
right?
Once they showed that, I was like, oh, I want to do that, but I didn't have time for this year.
No, it's good because it's always based on a set of assumptions, and that's what I always challenge my teams in the past was, we're just talking the assumptions, that this is just math after that.
It's just mapping.
Right.
That's right.
And if the math ain't mapping.
And I don't downplay that aspect of it, but that the assumptions are what drive the insanity, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And at least you can decipher the insanity if you have the assumptions.
You argue over the assumptions and the math
We're
doesn't
doing
work,
what?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last year we adjusted our chart of accounts in a new way, which is why you look at the 22 and previous, and you have a lot of blanks in there because we changed how the chart of account was doing things. One of the things that we broke out and really noticed is, and I'll bring that attention to you in both groups, is software and website.
Mhm.
And you'll see fairly considerable changes in how those look.
Mhm.
And that is just reflective of how business is done these days.
Yeah.
Most software is web service based. It's not you buy it one time and you use it till your computer
Get your
dies.
disc.
Right, you don't get your Microsoft gift anymore. That's an old reference.
Yeah. Boomer.
Boomers, X's, millennials, they all still know that one. And we're using a lot more software
Yeah.
to
sure.
keep us current, and that is one of the things that we've specifically discussed. One of the other assumptions that's in here is for the office here, in general office expenses, you'll see that's significantly higher. It's at, I'm estimating at the 12,000 as opposed to 2,000. That's that Zoom room upgrade.
Just gonna say, that's gotta be the zooming.
It absolutely is. We sat through the demonstration yesterday and both Teresa and Judith were like, and then Raquel was like, "Mhm." And then I was trying to be like, hey guys, we have to play hard to get. Even though I'm like, yeah, where are these?
Yeah. You think
It-
there's an opportunity for some improvement over what we have?
Yeah, like a lot.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Like substantial. And then what I may bring forward to facilities, and I'm happy to adjust some things over here, and I think even Teresa would be, I think adding a Zoom room over at the wellness center in one of those classrooms.
I think that'd be a great idea.
It's a hefty purchase the first year, but it would allow that facility a flexibility for community education and for our own programming to potentially be recorded and built into a library that I know
Yes,
Teresa has
yes.
wanted. That with our current technology, I've been like resistant.
No, I mean, it allows for, not only physical attendance, but, Zoom.
A lot more virtual.
People to get more visibility
Yeah.
and potential
And we
value.
already know that this hybrid level
Yeah.
of interaction is not going away.
It's
No
not,
way.
gonna- now how, okay, taking that idea, where would it be adjusted before we go to May?
That would go under, Community Health and Wellness Center.
Yeah,
Go down to office expenses.
yeah.
General office expense, right now, theirs is sitting at 1,800. I'd probably add almost 10,000,
12,000.
about 12,000.
No, 11.
To do a double zooming, one here,
Yeah,
one there.
one here and
I
one there.
I am in favor of that.
Yeah.
That extends our reach so much, so please make that adjustment.
Yeah, I don't know how you,
Yeah,
I'll make an amendment to that. We've already posted this for public hearing, but it's not the final.
yeah.
But we'll make that amendment that there will be an addition there and the reason for why.
Yeah. That's
agree.
good.
Teresa didn't even have to lobby me. I knew she was gonna start lobbying me after yesterday's, webinar, but,
We have another one too. We were at that Fallbrook High School thing yesterday,
oh, yeah,
and they've got a
Oh, yeah.
really nice digital whiteboard.
oh, yeah. This allows for that
Good.
opportunity to scale
Because
into that.
those are getting cheaper and cheaper every day, and it's, you know,
Which one?
just like a digital
The-
Oh, the
whiteboard.
digital way.
Look at, see, look at that one.
No, there's, the high school had one in the new building they
Love
christened
it.
yesterday in the ROTC and the patient care.
Yeah.
And to the other
The other two educational programs that they're bringing
three
forward.
more, but it's,
Yeah.
it's really nice.
2,500.
Okay,
What if
we're gonna leave that.
So perhaps you'll
That's
see a
well
couple.
within your operating budget, somewhere in this, in the cush.
Find the push.
You may see a couple of changes in there, because those are physical alterations to the building, they will be pushed forward to the facilities committee. So the fact that finance is already kind of giving it a gentle blessing, I'll move that to finance. Or,
No, facilities.
facilities
That's
as
fine.
well.
Makes
That's
sense.
And then we'll go back and we'll talk to the Zoom folks, as well. I want more sweatshirts.
Different colors.
Okay, to make this absolutely available to board members,
Yes,
I want to encourage that this size copy gets mailed to them, because to have done it on this, having to use my magnifying thing.
yeah.
I mean, it's not reasonable to think they can really study it,
So
so.
we'll add,
do
we'll-
something?
it'll be in the packet as its regular size, but we'll have an additional PDF size that is this. And then we'll have paper copies that we'll make sure we get to everybody as well
Beforehand.
beforehand.
Okay, that's what I would, if I'm not, I get this because I'm a treasurer, right?
Right.
But I would appreciate it if I was not in this position.
Yes.
This would be very important. to me.
We'll have that available.
This was
It's
bad.
really tough to look at, in a small,
Very.
after some of the samples that they showed up at CSDA, where their budgets were that, only about 18 pages of it.
Yeah, okay, well, that is, thank you for confirming you will be kind to the board members.
Yes, well, and kind to the public. I mean, if
Yeah.
we're gonna do a public
Sure.
hearing, people need to be able to read this.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Okay, anything?
well, we have one more agenda item,
Yes, we do. Let's move to that.
which in some ways I think we've already discussed a little bit. Judith, do you want to go ahead and
The credit
talk a
card.
little bit about the 5-star credit card?
Oh, the 5-star credit card.
What, can I make a request? Just tell us your recommendation, not the backstory. We'll ask questions,
5-star.
right?
Yeah, just move to 5-star.
Done.
They gave me the demo. It worked beautifully for what we wanted.
And will that require board, action?
I don't believe so, because we're already.
We're
approved
saying
with it.
yes. We're saying yes.
God, we tried to give you the whole like sales pitch.
Don't need it.
I've already heard
We
3
heard
months of how bad the.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you've been
I was
so.
ready to go 3 months ago.
Right, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, move forward. Okay,
You guys make, you
Negotiate.
guys are making my job so much easier.
That's our job.
it's our
I
job.
very much appreciate
Yeah,
that.
that
That
is
is very
our
clear.
Now, negotiate with her. Now that we're throwing credit card too,
Oh, to get
Let's
an
get some
increase on that
yields.
interest.
See what we
or
can do.
something, you
Yeah,
know,
move that too.
Yeah. we're throwing some money and we're throwing some card.
Yeah, so Susan,
So much
let's see if we can get a.
We should go ahead and ask her,
I know.
match what class is giving us, but she came under, so.
Well, we'll see what we can do, because we can always go back to class.
Right, because at first I did say match class at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll set up a time to discuss, and then any of those final recommendation strategies, then we'll bring forward once we've clarified, all the best options.
Very good.
One of the things that I'm gonna bring up is that when we need to transfer the money from LAIF to the checking to cover the, and it's only in $1,000 increments, and we have this accounting
Weird.
thing. And,
Right.
If we could say, we need $37,570, we write a check from 5-star
Right,
and put it in the bank.
yeah,
And it's none of this
That's the dream.
Yeah.
And because that has always been a big hiccup for you and the auditors every year is that weird.
And tomorrow, tune in. Don't we have our lunch?
Yeah.
Yes, we have our lunch tomorrow.
I will be bringing.
Okay, you
that up.
all,
Good.
you all have things to do
Yes.
related to the conversation we've had today. You have what you need from us, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
my comments or
No,
things for next,
Good meeting.
okay? Adjourn.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Rock and roll.
I'm glad you got to that open house. I wasn't able to.